want me to show you.
Krista Shore is determined that her daughters won't experience the pain that she did.
Oh, as much where we walk, keep us safe and protect us.
5-year-old Araya and 4-year-old Sequoia are being taught to walk a different path.
Let's see your feet. That's my challenge and my honor this life, is to be able to role model a healthy way of living to my young children so that they're not going to be vulnerable.
Shore never had that.
Police were called about 7 this morning. When they arrived, paramedics were already working on the woman, but there wasn't much they could do.
When she was just 12 years old, her mother was murdered. Here, next door to her grandmother's house.
And right next door was where it all happened, with my mother. I walked inside the house and ran past all the investigators and officers to see nothing but blood.
39-year-old Barbara Ann Shore, a mother of 4, murdered by her own brother in a drunken, drug-fueled rage. A 12-year-old girl left traumatized.
I'll be on a lifetime of healing, and I'll always yearn for my mother.
Shore's life spiraled out of control. She became a drug addict. She was beaten by boyfriends and stabbed in the face by a gang member. Then her first 2 children were seized by social services. That finally triggered change.
Just come and sit on whatever side.
Today, she's turned her life around, and she's helping other women trying to do the same. Shore runs a support group in North Central Regina called the Circle of Courage.
So personal now as a mother, you know, my daughter, you know, I look at her and I just...
It's not only for our daughters, it's for our sons too as well.
Shore isn't the only one using her past to change the future.
Surprising, simply because one would think that if you're a police officer, you would never get involved in a violent relationship. That's not true.
Lonnie Elliott visits First Nations and high schools to shatter stereotypes about victims of violence. Elliott was a special constable about to transition into the RCMP regular forces. Then she got married, and her husband began to isolate her from friends and family. Then he beat her.
I left my husband a total of 4 times. It took me 4 times to get out of that.
She almost didn't live to tell her story. On a shopping trip to Regina, her husband, in a jealous rage, turned off the highway onto a deserted road.
And then all of a sudden, like, the vehicle came to a halt, and he turned around and he looked at me and he said one word: run.
She ran, but he ran faster. He hit her with a baseball bat, knocked her to the ground, and kept on swinging. He broke both her legs.
And I remember thinking, this is it. I'm done. I'm gonna die here.
He only stopped because their son was crying so loudly.
The weird thing was, my husband decided that we were still gonna go shopping.
That was her chance. When her husband went inside a grocery store, she called for help. Elliott went to hospital. Her husband went to jail. Her message today: 9 times out of 10 Aboriginal women know their attacker.
It's almost like people want to believe that, you know, a lot of the violence that's happening, the perpetrators are strangers. And maybe that's the case for some of them, but we can't ignore the fact that domestic violence, relationship violence, is a huge contributing factor to these women that are going missing.
Both women are convinced that they can help break the cycle of violence. Lonnie Elliott shares her life lessons in the classroom.
I've actually made up a list of red flags. So we need to teach our young men not to hit, and we need to teach our young women that they're of value.
Krista Shore starts her teachings at home.
As young Indigenous women, you know, that they're gonna know who they are and have that confidence and esteem so that when they go out in that world, they're gonna have their head up. What did Mom teach you about the feather?
And have courage.
Have courage.
Bonnie Allen, CBC News, Regina.